All right, so for me, it's a bit of a long answer. So I'm from Canada, but I grew up in a very, very, very small town that nobody's heard of. And when I was a kid, a couple times we moved to other very, very small towns that nobody's heard of. But when I was an adult, I was living in a city called Edmonton. It's famous for being the northernmost city in Canada. So if you go further north, you can see the northern lights and a lot of snow. It's famous for being what we call the festival city. So summertime is really important because winter goes to -30, -35. So if you go in the summer, every weekend there's some sort of music festival, there's a parade, there's something happening. The other thing it's famous for is we used to have the world's largest shopping mall, and I have worked there. It used to have dolphins, right now it has sea lions. It's an amazing tourist spot. I have been in Japan for almost 9 years now. The original plan was I was going to come for a year, experience it, and then go back to Canada. And living in Tokyo has just been really, really convenient. And the food here is better than Canada, so I just ended up staying. I chose Japan because Canada's like really big, the nature's really, really beautiful, and very few people live there. The population's really, really small. So the Kanto area has more people than all of Canada. So if you want to go to an art gallery, if you want to go to a concert, anything like that, Tokyo, it's always available. Most recently, I think because of the coronavirus situation and everybody staying at home, is I got into baking. So mostly cake, cookies, banana bread, but I don't really like sweet food. So I do a lot of baking, and then I just like give cookies to my friends. And I have them tell me if it was good or not. So maybe I'm terrible and I have no idea. Before, when I first came to Tokyo, I really came here for like live music events, live art galleries, anything like that. And the other thing that I really like doing, especially in Japan, is I'm a fan of drinking. So imo shochu is the most fantastic thing. So before I came to Tokyo and started teaching English, I actually worked in the banking industry for 10 years. So on top of any work with grammar or the textbook, I have a lot of real life business experience. So if you need to worry about like a sales conversation, negotiation, being a manager or dealing with a manager, I have a lot of real life experience with that. So we can go past the textbook into a little bit more. Here's the cultural things you need to know. Here's the tone of voice things you need to know. So far, everybody here, from the staff to the students, it just seems like a very low pressure, fun environment. Everybody's going at their own pace. So you get some people who like, I want to study hard, I want to study this way, we want a lot of structure, and fantastic. And some people just want to relax, have some fun with English, and it makes it really easy to do that here because we're not forcing people to learn English a certain way. I mean, I don't have any comparison because I've only taught English in Japan, but what I will say is kind of similar to Canada. Like, we study French in school, but after school, you don't have a lot of chances to use French. So I think for people in Japan, it's kind of the same situation. Like, the grammar learning has already been done. The vocabulary study has already been done. People just need more chances to actually speak and use the language themselves. It's always going to be based on what is this student's goals for English. If they're more of a hobby student, they're coming in for fun, maybe we'll do free conversation, work on news articles. If they're more concerned about their grammar, obviously we want to use a textbook, have something with more of a structure. And if they're coming in, maybe they have a job interview coming up, they have a specific presentation they need to prepare for. We want to use those real life materials as much as possible. A lot of times if a student's working on a presentation, just bring your presentation in. Let's go through the slides. How does this look? How much time do you have to speak? So often if they have to give a 15-minute presentation, I can pull out a timer. All right, let's go. Email is also a really big one I've noticed, because a lot of people are comfortable writing emails. Some people are terrified of writing emails, so they can bring it in and we can say, maybe this is fine. Here's an easier way to write this. The big one would be anybody who needs English for work. Whether, they're serious business people, or maybe they're changing to a foreign company, or maybe they just have a couple of clients and they have to use English sometimes. I've had a lot of students who work in retail settings, and a lot of tourists come in, so they need enough English to handle that situation. The main thing for me is speaking speed. Because I spent so long working in a bank, my natural speaking speed tends to be very fast. So if students want a challenge and have more of a natural, listening test during their lesson, I can just speak as I normally do. If someone is a lower level student or the confidence level isn't there yet, slowing down, using simple vocabulary, more hand gestures, those sorts of things. The other thing is working on their output. So as the confidence level goes up, just make sure people are giving stronger opinions, more detailed opinions. And because almost every student is an expert in something that I am not an expert in, can they explain it to me in a way that I understand? Recently, I had a student that was doing practice for getting through an English language job interview, and it turns out they were actually trying to get a job at the United Nations. So it was not really a standard business interview. I had to do some research on how does the UN ask questions. But yeah, after about a month or so, he went to the interview, nailed it, got the job. So in that one, I would have kind of standard questions prepared. So doing more of a behavioral interview question, have him give the answer first, and then go through and say, was this the information the question's really asking for? Is there a better way to phrase this? Is there a system that we can use? It's pretty easy. The best time to start is now. Whether you have a concrete goal you need to meet, if you're just kind of thinking English for fun, if you want to travel some point in the future, the sooner you start, the sooner you're ready to meet whatever that challenge is going to be. So.
Okay.